the transition. You completed the inspection, you let them know I have everything I need. I'm going to go to my car, get a couple samples. We'll go through what we can do to help you. And I'm going to set this quick video up for you to watch as I go to my car. It's like a 2-minute video. It'll tell you a little bit about our company. You'll get to see the facility. Great. You set up the Why Choose Renewal by Andersen video here. You want to set up the video here. Don't choose to set it up elsewhere. It's perfect because you're going to your car, and it takes up the time. With price conditions, it establishes value as well. Sometimes I speak ahead of my thoughts. And it will be pretty much the same amount of time it takes you to go to your car will be how long the video is. I think it's literally like 2 minutes. So you come back in, the video's playing, and by the way, you're going to let the customer know that you want to sit at the kitchen table as follows. Robert, can I make a suggestion?
Sure. Anything you like.
This works. This will be easier for you if we can have a seat, ideally at the kitchen table. If not the kitchen table, the dining room table, so that you can see all the samples. It'll be a lot less cumbersome than if we're sitting at like on the couch or something sort of thing.
That's great.
Okay, great. So you go to the kitchen table or the dining room table. Set up with your cloth. Your cloth is to protect the actual table. I don't care what the table looks like. I don't care what the house looks like. Set up the cloth.
That cloth might be the nicest thing in the whole house.
Absolutely. You may want to protect your samples from the table. Yes. Remind me of another story I'll tell you later about a house with Mama Cass and Sonny Bono. It wasn't really them, but I had to say that. Okay. Set up all your samples as follows, and then the setup is all about common sense. So here's how it looks. Peter. I don't know why I always pause it. Peter. It doesn't get more complicated than this. What you see here, when we talk about the material that I'm going to offer you today, the Fibrex material, which incidentally, we did not talk about this yesterday, you will have talked about briefly. You did that when you sit down in the intro. Okay. So they've already seen a sample of Fibrex. You did not present Fibrex. Don't confuse giving them a sample of Fibrex and saying, hold on to this, we'll talk about this later, with, so this is what we call Fibrex, which is a composite, and it's made of this and that. Don't pitch it early, but anyway, they already heard the term and they had the sample, right? So now, the material that I showed you earlier, the Fibrex material, there was a reason why we arrived at that. And it really all comes down to common sense. It doesn't get more complicated than this. So if you listen from a place of common sense for the next 15, 20 minutes or so, even though it might be the first time you're hearing about anything as it relates to Windows, I promise you it will all make sense. It'll all fall into place. And when you're ready to make your decision, you'll know exactly what it is you're looking for based on what you want to accomplish with your home. Sound good?
My wife might disagree.
Oh, shut up, Peter. Jesus. Were you really role playing with me right now?
Kirsty says that you were running leads in the 80s.
He's not even a sales rep, and he's,
he also said you were running leads in the 80s. So if he was getting a kit, that would definitely be his sample.
Yeah, so, okay. The idea there, guys, when you're saying that it all comes down to common sense, you're putting them in a position to not argue with you because it's common sense. It's, again, psychological. And it really does. You'll see as we go through this presentation, it does come down to common sense. As long as you are presenting the facts, you are validating the facts, it should be a no-brainer. It should truly only come down to whether or not they can afford your window or how to make it affordable. Okay. So the only thing you don't see here, because there was a process as to how we arrived to how we got to Fibrex, how we arrived to where we are today. And we didn't just come up with this material. And while it might seem new to you, it certainly isn't something that's new to Andersen, or Renewal Andersen for that matter. It didn't exist before 1992, and it didn't exist to consumers before 1995, but we have been working with it for well over 30 years. And this was our process. So if you take a look here, the only thing you don't see represented is an actual wood window sample. And there's a reason for that. Wood today is not a popular option for homeowners for a couple reasons. A solid wood window that's a quality wood window or considered a quality wood window would be a crazy amount of money. You'd be talking about easily $2,000 per window. But putting that aside, what do you think the issues are with wood? Absolutely. Most people are not looking to maintain their windows. The reality is, gone are the days where you even have typically a one-income household. Typically, there's two-income household. There's a lot going on, a lot of extracurricular activities with children. No one has time to paint or stain windows. So that's not really a popular option for that. But the other reason is the quality of wood today is completely different than the quality of wood from yesterday. Years ago, the wood that they were using rather, was solid wood. And here's just a picture just to give you a quick visual because I'm a visual person. They had old growth wood here on the bottom, and then what we call farmed trees at the top. What do you notice as far as the difference there?
I see a lot less circles than one the
Very good. You got the shades right. Yes.
Funny shape.
You got the circle.
other.
And you're absolutely right. So the wood that we were using back in the day, especially when Anderson first started, because we were a wood company, that's what we're most known for. That's what Anderson's most known for. But the reality is we had access to these old trees. When we would cut down an 80-year-old tree and we used the center of that tree to manufacture our wood products. And it was solid. It was mature. Nowadays, because of deforestation, you can't just go cut down an 80-year-old tree for anything, right? So because of that, wood manufacturers farm trees. And they grow these trees, and in a 5 to 10 year period, they cultivate them to make wood products. Here's the difference. Like you said, less rains. The wood itself is a lot softer. It has a higher moisture content, and it's not as mature. So I want you to think about this. If I had an 80-year-old wood window, realistically, you're probably maintaining that window and staining it or painting it maybe once every several years or so, right? Because it was so strong and so, it was just so solid, right? Nowadays, with this young wood, unfortunately, you're talking about annual maintenance because it just already has a high moisture content. Not to bore you with this, just to give you a quick example, did you ever try to build something? Probably not. You don't look like you're a builder. Sorry.
You can say it. You can say it
You're
to
not
me.
building shit. Sorry, Peter. Oh, I'm sorry.
You can say it to
No,
me. I
but
won't
here's,
take offense.
but here's the reality. You can go to Home Depot
This
on a
is a
Saturday,
hammer.
and you'll see contractors plowing through 2x4s, trying to find consistency in wood planks. And there's a reason for that. Because you don't find consistency. The wood itself is just not. You have a lot of imperfections, you have a lot of moisture, so the wood itself curls up based on how it's actually processed from the time it's actually cut. So it's difficult to do. So there are a lot of issues with that. So we got away from wood early on as far as a replacement option because we realized that that's not the future. It was the past. And it was a great option for the past. I gotta tell you something, 80-year-old wood windows are gorgeous. In fact, let me ask you this. Looking at your window, what do you believe the most important part of your window is? The frame, the glass? Which would you think would be the most important component that you got to be concerned about?
I would say probably have to be black.
Very good, Peter. Somebody read their script. Yeah, most people say glass, and there's a reason, because you see mostly glass. And if you look at all the ads for windows today, what do you notice about those ads? Low E4 glass, energy efficiency. And when it comes to energy efficiency, you win with that response because glass is crucial. But the reality is your frame is structural. And if you don't have structure supporting the weight of the glass, game over. A great example of this is the foundation of your home. Let's say you had just amazing a weak foundation, and then you summon walls and this roof and top dollar. If the foundation is weak and in any way is compromised, what happens to all that you've invested? It will support it. That's the reality. Your frame is structural. So your frame to your glass is like your floor joists to your floor, your foundation to your home. Okay? It needs to be structural. So don't use your vinyl yet. I just picked it up because I was talking about it. So the old wood was just that. It was strong, it was rich, it was beautiful. New wood has issues with maintenance and the fact that it has such a high moisture content. The reality is you have premature wood rot. So what did we do about that? We tried to protect the wood when we were talking about window frame options. And we started with what you see here. This is what you call aluminum clad wood. Take a look at that. And what you'll notice there is, that's what we call a profile. You notice a wood profile, and it's wrapped in aluminum, right? Pretty simple. Seemed like a solution. And aluminum, was the answer then for a lot of things back in the days because, aluminum siding on homes, all that. Here's the problem as it relates to your window frame. Unfortunately, aluminum and wood being don't be coughing on my tape. Aluminum and wood being two different materials, There was no way, our engineers could not find a way to adhere this aluminum to the wood. And I want you to press down this aluminum. You can feel the gap. Press it. Feel it? You know how it moves? Absolutely. So, well, right now I couldn't just separate it. If I worked on that for a while, I could absolutely separate that aluminum from the wood. Right? Now, here's the problem, and I want you to think about this. Because this is young wood, and you can look at the rings on that wood, similar to the picture, right? Because it's young wood, and this aluminum is sitting on top of the wood, the idea of protecting it from the elements, is a great concept. But what happens as this aluminum starts to pull away from the wood, if there are any gaps, and you have a heavy driving rain, or you have a buildup or an ice dam from accumulation of snow, what happens? There is a way. Water always finds a way. It will find a way, I promise you. And as it finds a way, these loose end cuts of this profile, the wood, the soft wood starts to wick that water and sucks it right in. Now, because it's aluminum, I want you to think about this. The sun comes out, and now the sun is baking that window. And aluminum is an amazing conductor of heat and cold. You used to have aluminum pots because you wanted to cook something quickly, the aluminum would transfer heat very quickly. So now you have the sun baking that aluminum. So the water would be drawn to the surface and it would dry out. But this constant phenomenon, because you can't stop this, by the way. I don't know anybody who can stop nature, except for Heat Miser. No, yeah. I was pointing to. It's on tape. We'll have to edit that out. You can't stop nature from happening. So the reality is this wood behind the scenes is starting to rot. But when you're looking at your window, what are you seeing? Absolutely. So with this particular sample, what our engineers found was that it wasn't until it was too late that you would know that this was rotted out. When you'd go to open your window, you know how many people, like you said to me, I don't open my windows. Can you imagine the day you go to open your window, if you notice that this wood is rotted or there's crumbling in the sill or at the base of your window frame? It's very disappointing. So this dry rot creates a big issue with this. And as far as long-term option, like, let me just be clear about something. I'm not suggesting, because this is an option, you can get this today. And I'm not suggesting that if I put 10 aluminum-clad wood windows in your home, that all those windows would experience dry rot, and I'm not suggesting that they would all experience it at the same time. However, based on what we saw when we walked through the home, and based on the issues you're currently having, you could see that certain rooms would be a high risk, would be at a high risk of it happening sooner rather than later. Right? Again, thinking from that common sense perspective, you have to see that. So realistically, I can tell you, it is an option. What? I'm going to get there. I'm just getting there. The other issue with aluminum, I want you to think about as far as how moisture gets inside. Because let's say you don't have a driving rain, but you do have weather where it's humid one day, it's not humid the next, or it does rain, but it's a regular day, whatever with rain. It's not a crazy, torrential downpour. I want you to think of something separate from this application. Think about an aluminum can. Did you ever put an aluminum can in the refrigerator, in the freezer even, you want it to get cold very quickly, whether it's beer, not judging, or soda, whatever it might be. When you take that aluminum can out of the freezer and you sit it out for a while, what happens to the can? On the outside, what happens? It absolutely sweats. Now, if it's happening on the outside, is it feasible to believe it's happening on the inside? It's sweating. That's another way that moisture, that wood is exposed to that moisture. Okay, and that's what, again, accelerates that wood rot process. So, as far as this being an option, I can tell you there are companies out there still utilizing this option. And it's not because they're bad companies, it's just a bad design. And unfortunately, whether it was lack of internal testing, putting the product out too quickly, whatever it was that had happened, they're stuck with these issues. So they're not bad companies, but the design itself is flawed. So, and you'll see this. You have companies, big companies, such as Pella, Marvin, that are out there offering the aluminum clad wood window. And at the same time, you'll find windows like this, ranging as far as price, anywhere from $7,000 on the low, $7,000, $7,500 for 10 windows. We're going to use round numbers, it's easier, to as high as $22,000 for those same 10 windows for this aluminum clad product. Yeah, it's crazy. And why is there such a shift in pricing? You have a lot of things that you'll find out there that are bells and whistles that will drive the cost of that product up. You'll see options such as triple pane glass. You'll see options such as blinds between the glass. If you want to upgrade the glass itself, those things drive the cost up. But at the end of the day, the aluminum over the wood, unfortunately, is a flawed option. And in these cases where there's been premature wood rot, they're faced with class action lawsuits, which you have access to. You can certainly do the research and you'll see it yourself. I actually have a couple things to show you that will support what it is we're talking about as far as the issues with this particular product. So this is where I would say, so am I saying if I put 10 windows in your home, aluminum clad, that all those windows would experience dry rot and would fail at the same time? No. But given the issues that you're having that we discovered together and what you told me you're experiencing, can you see how Sarah's room is probably, Sarah's room, those are the windows that would most likely fail first when you have this issue? And do you believe if I put this window in those openings that I'm going to solve those problems?
I don't see how you do it.
Right, so then no. So you mean no. So, and you know, I apologize because it may seem obvious when I'm asking you some of these questions, but I just know I don't want to assume anything. And it's okay if you don't see something, just let me know, because at the end of the day, I don't envy you. You know why I don't envy you? Here's why I do envy you, because you're sitting with me now. I don't envy you. I don't envy you because you're going to get a lot of information, not just from me, but from the other people you have in here to get estimates from. Again, takeaway. I'm not looking at your business. I know you're getting other estimates. No pressure. So when everyone sits in front of you, and there will be those who will have this product, and they will tell you, no, we made it better. And you'll go, wow, sounds reasonable, sounds like, it makes a lot of sense. And at the end of the day, you're going to wonder, well, wait a minute. It's like paralysis by analysis. There's so much information. You're going to say, wait a minute. How do I know this guy's telling me the truth? How do I know that guy's telling me the truth? So what I'd like to do, because I want to make sure you have the information you need to make that decision, I want to show you a couple quick things, a couple quick articles or blurbs, if you will, about this particular product that it's actually from a third-party source, has nothing to do with our company. But again, you can log the information, and I'll show you where you can go to access this information if you want to do further research. But at least you'll know exactly what we're saying is validated. It's not something that we're saying because we're biased and going off of that product. Okay? So if you look here, and it's what's the name of that article? Aluminum clad. It's not
Thinking about aluminum clad. I think it's the Thinking About Aluminum Clad thing again.
Yeah, and it'll show, and that's from the Homeowners Defense League, and this is an organization that was put together that actually helps to protect consumers such as yourself. So you're going to see sources. You want to ask them, do you believe them to be credible? When you have the actual article, which you will show from your iPad, or the hard copy, whichever, but it's just important that you show them. You're not going to read the whole article. You don't want to give them the article at this time. You will give it to them when you're figuring out their investment, but you're just bringing it up quickly and giving them a couple quick blurbs about premature wood rot and the class action lawsuits associated with this particular product. And then at that point, I'm going to wrap it up. I've already got my first series of tie downs, but I'm going to ask you, so while this is an option, can you see why this is not a good option and it's not something that ultimately is a viable option based on what, the issues that you're having? You sure about that? You sure about that 5 minutes? Anyone? John? Are you sure about that 5 minutes?
That's my cousin Vinny.
Very good. Okay. That's aluminum clad. Did I miss anything on aluminum clad?
Well,
I'm done with this guy.
Yeah. Go ahead, shout it out loud when you have those answers. Sorry, Peter. It's either you or Robert. I just felt like turning left today. So that's aluminum clad. I know I just looked at the aluminum can. That was the it may seem like overkill in some cases. What?
stop.
What?
Stop. Stop it. Stop it.
No. Keep it going just in case I say something. You can always edit it out. I don't want to have to go back. No, but that's aluminum clad. When I'm done killing aluminum clad, my next option is going to be, is it fiberglass or vinyl on the, it's fiberglass?
Fiberglass.
Okay.
You're not going to spend much time.
You're not going to, very good, Robert. Oh, Robert wants me to pick on him now.
Scratch that.
this is another option. Fiberglass, by the way, guys, why do you think we have it in a Ziploc bag? Ask Tom, because he was
Because
handling it yesterday.
All over.
It's a hazardous material. Do you know when everything happened with Katrina and they sent down those mobile homes down there, they had the fiberglass homes, what happened? Really, I'm asking you because I don't remember, but I mean, it was bad.
No, people got sick.
All the
People got sick.
volunteer
It's
work.
hazardous.
All the volunteer workers,
It's
they had
hazardous.
pieces of it in their.
Yeah. So when we get to this will be an easy kill. I'm not going to go into detail now, but I mean, it's easy kill, and then I would go to vinyl, and then I'll go to fiberglass. But anyway, that's aluminum clad. So you're going to talk about it. You notice I do, because it's true. This was the evolution we had. This was not, hey, this is what's out in the market. This is what some people have. Yes, I talk about that because it is. It's out there in the market. But the reality is, Anderson was here before anyone else. We had the head start. Fortunately, we're a privately held company. Well, we say we. Anderson's a privately held company, and they're not a victim to the shareholders. They're not pushing products out without the proper testing. You'll have pages that we will give you that will show you the testing sites for Fibrex. When you see these testing sites, you will see, oh, they're serious. You know, there's nothing we're saying that's not true. And there's nothing we're saying that's overboard or exaggerated. It's true. So when you see these things, you'll see, okay, wow, it really was this long, crazy process. And let me tell you something. You ever talk to an engineer? It's a lot of fun talking to engineers, isn't it?
Yeah, they're.
So let me tell you were you ever an engineer? Okay. That's hard. I had to play with you a little bit.
She's here all week.
Yeah, thanks. Trying to feel. Here's the reality. I remember when I was selling vinyl previously, vinyl windows, because I did. Because just like we say customers don't know what they don't know, I didn't know what I didn't know. So to me, a vinyl window was good, because who wants to maintain wood? I didn't know. I had no idea that Fibrex didn't exist back then. There was no option for Fibrex. It was either wood, aluminum clad wood, or vinyl. So back then we thought vinyl was the way. This is go back in the early 90s. And when we used to go into a home, and I used to have an engineer, and he used to start asking questions about vinyl, what I would like to say to that engineer, first of all, you're put on the spot. I had no answers. I didn't have the answer. And I didn't have the answer because there was no answer to the questions they were asking. And so to sell an engineer was deemed almost impossible. I can tell you that our best customers are engineers, scientists and engineers. You know why? Because it's common sense, and they get it. They know the differences. They know the characteristics. They're right there with you. That's their field. You know what I love doing with an engineer now? And before we had the iPad, we actually had books. We had a tech inspect manual. And I remember being in an engineer's home, being on a ride-along, and he was asking the sales rep, questions. And I said, go to your car and get the tech inspect manual. The tech inspect manual is like, it's like a drug to engineers.
It's like giving them like porno or
They're
something.
like, oh, yeah. I was like, don't take that in the bathroom. And I said, let them go through. Let them go through the tech inspect, because any question they have is answered. Why is it answered? Because there's nothing we're saying that's exaggerated or not true. And our engineers are the ones who came up with it. So engineers love this. They love it. And I will tell you they're your best customer. You'll still have to coddle them, stroke their ego a little bit, and you may spend some, they want to see if you know what you're talking about. That's what it's going to come down to with engineers. They know more than you, so give it up, because they do. And you need to be able to say to them, listen, I respect the fact that you probably know and understand this on a different level than I do. And I think that's awesome. So don't think that I know as much as you, because I'm sure that I do not. So stroke their ego. However, I know I can get the information, and I know I can get it probably with a quick phone call or in a book.
And that manual's on the
Yes,
iPad now.
It's all on the iPad. So don't hesitate to say that to an engineer. They'll respect you for it, and they want to see, are you going to try to dance, or are you going to answer the question? And then at the end of the day, they'll understand it is common sense. And what's great as far as the engineer tech inspect and your heat lamp demonstration. They love that heat lamp demonstration. So just be aware of that. And so it's just interesting because it's the complete opposite. I love getting appointments with engineers, and the guys do, because it's not uncommon for them to say yes pretty easily. You might be there a little longer in the actual presentation, but you're not spending a long time closing, because they get it, and that's beautiful. So that's what you have to remember with this. Everything we say is validated. And what you say to them is, listen, when I leave, let's say, you have your next estimate and you really like them. And I hate to assume this, but I'm hoping you really like me. And if what I say makes complete sense to you, but what they say makes complete sense to you as well, what's the differentiator? The only differentiator at that point is going to be the price. And I will tell you this, I will lose all the time, initially. Although ultimately my window is going to be the least expensive option you put in your home. Initially, on paper, I will lose. So how do what do we do about that? I just don't want to leave you with just my word. So take me out of the equation. Let me show you some things that validate what we talked about. And again, you can look at this later when I'm figuring out your investment. But I just want to go through a couple quick blurs. Validate, don't assume. Okay? So that's the aluminum flat. Any questions? You can ask questions while the tape is going. That was longer because I was, playful in between. But realistically, that was wood and aluminum clad. All right? You don't always have to kill wood. If anything, you can condense the wood. You don't have to go into like that long with an explanation about wood, but do not shortcut your aluminum clad. Because the reality is, home show season, it's going to be us and Pella. They're going to have in because they know the names, they know the brands. If they're going to Andersen, they're going to Pella. Unless they're Andersen customers. Because there are Andersen customers and Pella customers, but you have those who go, oh, I've heard of Andersen, I've heard of Pella. So if you don't do a good job killing this, you will not be able to justify the difference in price at the end. And listen, the people in the booth at Pella are telling them how much our windows are.
How much are theirs?
Theirs will range anywhere from $7,000 on the low to as high as
It depends.
It depends on what you get because they have the Architect series, the Designer series, the Proline series. I mean, they really do. And then they have vinyl. So when you we have a couple reps who used to work for Pella. And the feedback we got from them is this. When they go into a home, they pick the product that meets the budget. So they go into the home and they ask the customer, what are you looking for? The customer says, we want maintenance free. It's fine. They're not talking about aluminum clad wood. If they talk about fiberglass, they do not have a fiberglass sample with them. It's the Impervia window, unless it's requested. It's the least expensive option. It's less than vinyl in their case. What's interesting is this. They will sell the fiberglass, and then they will have them come to the showroom to see the sample, at which point they will switch them to another window if necessary.
Because it's ugly as sin.
Absolutely. It is truly where it belongs is in a mobile home. Not that there's anything wrong with a mobile home. Don't say it if you're in a mobile home. Hopefully you don't have a mobile home leak. No, kidding. That's all. But it's a chintzy looking material. It's cheap looking. We had Brian Webb and I had when they first came out with Impervia window, all the sales reps panicked because it was their answer to the aluminum clad option. It's the time it will take to retool and figure out defects, you're better off if you can come up with an alternative option as well, so you have more choices. So they came up with fiberglass, the Impervia. When this window came out, we heard it was $500 a window, and the way they market it sounds very close to a composite. All these things. We thought, oh my God, what are we going to do? Pella now has a window that's similar to ours as far as quality, and it's half the price back then. So we set up an appointment, and we said, we want to see the Impervia window. So we made the guy bring out a sample. This guy came out, and first of all, it's amazing because you talk about skill set, right? Sales 101, sales 301. Guy comes out, and actually when he was talking about installing windows, said, oh, you don't want to go, because we said, oh, well, it's going to come down between you and Renewal by Andersen. Because we were curious, what are they saying about us? And he said, oh, you don't want to go with Renewal by Andersen. They install the window from the outside, and they just put it in from the outside. So, of course, I'm like, put it in from the outside. What do you mean by that? They just put it in place from the outside. I'm like, what are you telling me? It's not, they don't secure it in? No! I'm like, are you kidding me? Do I look that stupid that you're telling me they placed the window in place without securing it into the opening? And that's exactly what he said. Then he took out the fiberglass window sample. And I was like, that's the Impervia window, and it is the ugliest window, and you all are going to need to go into a Pella showroom and see it. Because until you see it and operate it, we used to have a wall full of competitors' windows here, but we ran out of room. So we had the Impervia window, we had the Marvin window, and we had our window. And we just had it unmarked so people can go up and test the windows, which actually was really nice. It's a shame we can't, we don't have space for that because it was big. But the Impervia window rode like a metal window on tracks. It had these big, bulky, bulbous, gray gaskets all over the place. It was ugly as sin, and it looked cheap as hell. And when you saw that next to our window, you would have to truly be detached from your project to not care and go with that product. There's nothing that would have you go with that product unless you truly did not care and you were in denial. There's nothing. So you need to go and check that out. But I will tell you, once we saw it, it was like, really? So so we have our little fiberglass pitch, but at the end of the day, it's not something that's going to be a competitor, but you just need to be aware of it because Pella will pitch that to hit the budget.
I heard you talking, Renee, about the class action lawsuit. Are you coming right out and saying you can go to PellaLitigation.com?
You listen, you want to try to say it without giving them a direct black eye. You can say, listen, the class action lawsuits, you're showing them the sheet.
Okay.
And you're saying it's not about about the company. It's unfortunate because they got caught up in a bad design. And now they're trying to play catch up. But while they're trying to play catch up, we're already ahead. We're on to the next thing. So, they're behind the 8 ball.
Okay.
It's the reality. Now, eventually they'll find a cure, and when they do that, we'll be on, to a newer and better product. I mean, it's just the way the world works. If you're continuing through successfully and you don't have to stop to correct issues, we experiment in our house, not in yours. That's the difference.
Okay.
All right. So anyway, any other questions about that? But validating is crucial. So you could cut back your wood story. I don't really care about that. Most people aren't going to go with wood, but you just want to hit on it a little bit about old growth, new growth, the difference. Wood today is not the same quality. You can keep it that short. Just say old growth wood, new, wood today is farmed. You can't cut down old trees any longer, so the quality is different. Look at the furniture today. You can go to IKEA and put a whole, strap a whole, dining room set on your back and walk to your car. You could pick up your grandmother's dining room table, and they'll be like, oh yeah, we know. Right.
But that
So
it is important because it ties right
That
into
sets
the.
up
It sets up the aluminum
but it doesn't
clad.
have to be as long as the aluminum clad. The reality is,
Pella does offer all wood, still, there are architects here, so
no, it has the aluminum
they're
clad.
all wood
No.
architect series.
No. No,
Did they get rid of it?
they don't have it, so I don't know if they got rid of it. I never knew they had one without the aluminum clad.
Well, it's aluminum clad on the outside.
They didn't have any window offered, and I have Pella sales reps, so they came here with the samples.
Not
The
around
architect series
here,
I have,
maybe in
aluminum clad.
Canada, maybe.
Geldwin was the only solid wood window that we had in our area. It was Geldwin. That was it. We never had, Pella never offered the architect series here without the aluminum cladding. Now, I can tell you the only time, and this is what you'll say to your customer also, the only time wood is an option is when you have no option. You're in a historical society and you have to do a wood window. Then you have no choice. You're relegated to finding yourself a solid wood window. That's it. But like I said, the companies that do solid wood window, Geldwin was the only company in our area that actually offered that. But why do you think contractors, and again, this is more just information for you guys, because sometimes you're going to be in a home where they are wood, and you do need to kill wood heavier. So where I said you're going to customize your presentation based on who you're with. Why do you think contractors pay so much when they demolish these buildings, these old homes, because they want to cultivate the wood that's used in those homes? They pay for that wood. You pay, because they want to recapture that old quality. You just can't do it anymore. You can't access it unless you're pulling it from things that are actually already, structures that are already built. But I love that he's looking up an architectural right now.
He's validated.
I subscribe to the Old House Journal, and they have ads every month there selling used barn wood.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right,
reclaimed
because it's
wood.
reclaimed, and that's the whole thing, because the contractors know the quality, you can't just go out and purchase any longer. The only way you can really access that, pay someone off, and go to, Brazil or something, get some money,
Yeah. Big business reclaiming wood
Yeah.
now.
Reclaim, absolutely. So, but that's the idea behind that. So get them engaged, have them feel it, have them press, and set it up. It's common sense. It all comes down to common sense. And again, if you're setting it up with, if you listen from that place of common sense, it'll all fall into place for you. Even if it's the first time you're a window novice, you'll know exactly what you're looking for, and more importantly, you'll know exactly what you're not looking for, what you want to stay away from. If you set it up that way, it's easier for them. It's easier to again, have them listen and be on your side. I'm not saying to them, hey, we're going window shopping. Now I'm going to show you what's out there. Because like I said yesterday, when you tell somebody, now I'm going to show you what your options are and what's available, you're going to risk the chance, and it's a greater risk of getting this as a response than if you do it the way that we're training you. You'll risk them saying to you, do me a favor, we're going to see all that on our own. We already have estimates set up for those people, appointments, so don't don't bother. Just show me what you have. Do you offer those? Then show me what you have. I promise you that'll be a greater issue if you set it up with, now I'm going to show you what your options are out there, or now I'm going to show you, I'm going to take you window shopping. Just tell them, listen, our engineers arrived at this. It was a process. This is the process we went through. Then you're telling them the story as to how we evolved to Fibrex. And as you're doing that, of course, you're talking about all the other companies who now embrace this product and are struggling, because that's a reality. That's what's out there. Hi, Dan. Dan, you look tired. Are you tired?
I'm just